Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of the Windows Store app development blog related to the Facebook integration. You will see today how to access basic account information such as the profile picture with the Facebook Dotnet SDK. In the previous episode, Juan Luca demonstrated how to get a Facebook token to authenticate to their services. It is now time to get something from a Facebook account. But first, I'm going to present you the Facebook SDK for .NET that makes it much simpler to access the web-based REST-like Facebook services. So go to Visual Studio, and from the Windows Store application, go to the Tools and the NuGet Package Manager, and try to find the one related to Facebook. So this is the Facebook SDK. Click on Install. Accept that it changes and add the references required to your project in the solution. Click OK. Click Close. And you get a new reference of the Facebook SDK in your references, plus an additional readme.txt file with some of the links that you will use very often to get access to the documentation of the Facebook SDK. The cornerstone of the Facebook SDK for .NET is the Facebook client class. Let's see the changes in the login related method I have done in my project. So first, I'm going to the Facebook helper, collapsing everything, making it a little bit bigger. And you can see that I have added a new properties called FB client for Facebook client of the type Facebook client, and I will using it in two methods. First, when I'm logging it by clicking on the login button, and I am keeping most of the code that Juan Luca shown you in the previous episode, except that I'm instantiating this new property with a Facebook client. I'm getting the URL instead of computing it from the class itself, passing the app ID of the Facebook application and the app ID of the Windows Store application, plus the scope corresponding to the permission I need and the kind of display. And then it's the same plane of code using the web authentication broker. What I'm doing also is when I'm calling to get the token, I'm passing it through the method of the Facebook client instead of my own method, and I get the result. And this one, the Facebook out result, is a strongly type that provides property instead of, if you remember in the previous episode, we had to pass the result and the string, and so right now we just get access to a property of the result, which is access token. We keep track of this token, and I'm also setting the access token property of the Facebook client to bind this instance of a Facebook client to the authenticated user that I've just accepted. So this is the first change I've done, and the next one is when I'm doing the authentication by using the token stored in the password vault. What I'm doing is exactly the same. I'm getting the token from the vault, and then I'm creating a new Facebook client, passing it the authentication token, doing the binding between this instance and the authenticated user now. And basically this is just what I need to do compared to the previous code. Quite simple. Before digging into the Facebook SDK details, let's take a quick look at what the app is doing. So I'm closing, and I will run the application. Starting the app. So there is an empty image when the user is not logged in. I'm clicking on login, getting the confirmation dialog, saying OK. And then there is a progress ring. It's very fast here, but there is a progress ring showing that we are trying to get the image, and then you get the image. And when I log out, come back to the empty image. So let's see how this is implemented. In the main page XAML, if we take a look, we have this image here, which is the missing profile picture, the blue silhouette, or I have also the progress ring. Both share the same row, and only the missing profile pictures is shown at the beginning, the other one is collapsed. And I will use the same picture here to either display this missing one or the image of the profile that I will fetch from Facebook. So I will switch between the two. How this is done? It's done through the Visual State Manager, and we won't dig into the detail, but we will take a look at the different animation that are used to switch when there is a login. So if I'm working here, I have three different states. I have the login, the logged out, and when I'm working. And when I'm working, what I'm doing, I'm just change the visibility of the picture profile, which is this one, to be collapsed, and I make visible the progress ring, the progress picture profile visibility, and where is the progress ring? This is the progress ring, and the visibility is true. So that's basically how the animation works. So let's see in the source code how we change from state to different state. So let's go to the source code, make it a little bit bigger for you. So in the main page, the helper function in charge of changing that, switching for logged in, logged out, is the change state, and you will see that I'm calling the change state depending on the different event, if I'm logged in or not, and I'm using the Visual State Manager to go to a state I've just shown you in the example. Quite simple. So that's the visual processing. For the real function, if you remember for the previous episode on the onloaded, I'm calling the update profile picture async, but Juan Luca didn't explain to you what this function is doing, and this is the purpose of this description today. So I'm calling this function when the page is loaded, but also when I'm doing a login. When I'm clicking on the login, at the end I'm also updating. So this one is when I explicitly click on the login and I just click OK on the confirmation dialog, and the other one is when I'm taking from the password vault through the login with cache credential async. So in both cases, I'm going to the update profile file async. So let's see what it's in picture function. So I'm moving to the working state. Remember, I'm just spinning the wheel to show that something is happening. I'm using my Facebook helper class. Oops, let's go back to the main page. I'm calling the get user profile picture async. I will go back to this in very soon, but just to show you what's going on, I'm changing the state, getting the URL for the picture, and if I get an URL, then I'm changing the state, and if I'm to change if I'm logged in or not, so make it visible the image. If I got a picture URL, it will be the image of the profile, and otherwise it will be the empty blue silhouette. So the tiny stuff that I need to explain here is how do I manage this asynchronously fetching of the URL. What I mean is, when I'm setting the source for my picture, I'm setting the source with a bitmap image and passing it a URL. So asynchronously, the bitmap image will fetch the bits of the picture from the internet, and I need to be notified if it works or if it fails. So this is why I'm listening to these two events, the image open and the image failed event. And if you take a look at the implementation, I'm just changing the state depending if it failed or not. So it's quite simple. That's the example side of the story. But for the Facebook side of the story, we need to go to the get user profile picture async. So let's go to this function. And here it is. Again, I always need to be sure that I'm logged in. And I'm calling the get user ID async. I will just show you right now. And just to let you know what's going on. With the token, I need to get the ID because each user in Facebook is identified by an ID. The token is wrapping of the ID plus the permission corresponding to the session you have just started. So I need the ID, and from the ID I know the URL of the picture where I can get it through this URL. It's you are passing the user ID, and then you ask for a certain type of picture. You have this description. It's a square, a small one. It's a very small one, and then you have the large one. So I want to get the large one, and at the end I just need to pass the access token. This is the raw way to get information from Facebook. I will show you how to use the .NET SDK, but I wanted to show you here the raw way to get the information. So now that we have this profile URL, we need to figure out how to get this ID, because right now I've been logged in, so I got a token, and how do I get the ID? And this is the first time I will call the API using the Facebook client, the .NET SDK. So how is it working? There is a couple of methods from this client to get some information, to delete, to post, and I'm passing the URI because it's a REST REST-based API that is provided by Facebook, and I need to pass some verb, which is me here. Me means the basic information for the current session corresponding to the token. Okay, so that's quite simple. Right now, the API returns an object, which is not really interesting for us because an object means nothing. We can't get strongly typed information, and hopefully it's something more than an object. So how to know what it is exactly is we just call get type here. So if I'm doing something like debug dot write line task result dot get type, oops, get type, and I'm doing a breakpoint here. I'm calling. So here it's a part of the code that is not using, is not parsing it yet. So I will stop the execution here just to show you what kind of type we get here. I'm doing F5. I'm doing the login, connecting to the services, okay, and then I get here. So in the output, I know this is a Facebook object, Facebook.json object. So what is a Facebook.json object? If you want to know that, you have to go to the references, double click on Facebook, and in the object browser we will have the Facebook and the JSON object. If you don't see this, it's because one of your settings is not been set, which is show hidden type and members. If you don't do this, you won't see the hidden type. So do this. We have the JSON object, and the JSON object is a dynamic object. This is something that is available in C#, and it means that you can use it either as a collection of stuff or as a dictionary. So a kind of collection of key value pair. And this is really JSON. It's to mimic the JSON representation of a collection. So you get a list of key value pairs, and we need to parse this key value pair. So how will we do that? We can do this like a very simple way, because we know it's a collection. So now we do a so we get the stuff we need to cast. So we will have a var result equal. We know it's a dictionary. This is what we are interested in. Dictionary of string and object, because we can have inner collection inside our JSON. So we don't know, it's not a string, it's a string object. And we will cast the task result with this. Okay, so now we can iterate on each key value pair. So for each of the key, for each key in result dot keys, then I will get the value, object value equal result of key. Obviously, if you know the key, you can check that it's inside and get the value. But here, I just want to show you how to get all the information that is written by this kind of call. And so, if in my case I'm interested in compare to ID equals 0, because this is what I'm interested in. When it's the ID key, the value I'm interested in is user ID equal string cast of value. Okay, so user ID is a property here, so I'm interested in the user ID. This is the one I will be using all over the place. Okay, so here this is how you get this value, and if you want to figure out all the values, you can do a debug.writeLine and doing something like string.format, and I want to see the keys, so the key and the value. And that way I will get the key and the value, which would be key and value. Okay. And in the output, when you run this, you will get the list of all the key values in the JSON return. In fact, there is a better way and an easier way to get this kind of information instead of adding some tracing inside your code and figure out what is the result. So I will just make a comment here because I don't want to get it. And here is the way I get the ID. So there is a problem here because yes, because I was still debugging. So I'm modifying the code and Visual Studio told me that something goes wrong. I know, I just cancel the debug and that's it. So what I want to show you now is how to use the Facebook developer website to do some fetching of information before adding your code here. So let's do it right now. So I'm going right now to the Facebook developer website, and I'm interested in using the Graph API. This is the one I will be using all over the place, and this is the one that is used by the .Net SDK for Facebook. So go to Graph API, go to the API references here, and here you get all the endpoints of the verb that you can use with the REST API. You can see many verbs, and once you've done that, for example, if you want to go to the user, you will get the information related to a user. Then you will be able to, in addition, get the documentation, which is just over there about what you can get. You can also do some exploration by following the Graph Explorer link. So when you click here, you get a page, and you see this is the kind of, let's make it bigger. You have the /me I was using in my code, and how can I test it? The first time I can't just do a submit and doing a get or a post or a delete. What I have to do is first getting the access token. This is exactly what I've done thanks to the Juan Lucas explanation to get the token, and once I get the token, then I can try and start to do some calls to the SDK. So I'm starting to get the access token. I'm picking my permission, the one that I need to do my call. So I just need the information about me. I get the access token. Again, same at the the web broker. I need to confirm that I allow this application. Here the application is this page to do the call. So when I'm doing a submit here, you see I get all the information that I have received from my call in my C# code. And if I had done my tracing, I would have done all this tiny ID first name, which will be the key of the dictionary, and this will be the value. So here is the ID I was interested in. And so you have all the different details for this account. The last time it's been updated, what the name, the link to go to this page, the last name, the gender, all that stuff. So this is a very, very simple way to get the information when you need to do a call to a Facebook API. So my recommendation would be, when you start to do some Facebook coding, go to the documentation, look for the different verbs you want to use, see all the parameters you will pass, and then do a Graph Explorer. So the next episode will explain to you how to use this API, and especially the one related to photos and album, and how you can use this API with the .Net SDK for Facebook. Happy coding!